I'm here to share a fun little layout that I've made using the Scrapping Fun Kit's August embellishment kit. So this kit this month had a lovely little vintage vibe to it. It was Mary Poppins themed, which therefore you could use in a Mary Poppins themed kind of documenting way, or like myself in a more vintagey, girly kind of a situation. So I've got this DIY embellishment here, Project Life card that I've embellished up with the words shopping time and some good little embellishments from the kit. And I made this and the one on the top there that you can see in the left hand corner in the live stream, where at the beginning of the month I unboxed it and I made some DIY embellishments, and I also made a like an art page. So I just used a title and not a title, a quote, and I put some kites on it with some ribbon and whatnot. So if you want to check that out, then head over to the Facebook page. The link will be down below to the video, and I'm just going to start this page here. Now that I've decided on that DIY embellishment by adding some peach spray mist in a packaging technique, just spraying it straight onto the paper, not watering it down or anything, and then smooshing it onto the paper with that plastic. Just going to clear off that plastic because I thought I'd do the next colour, which is a pink with some shimmer in it, over top with the packaging technique, but I didn't want the same kind of, because you can tell. So packaging technique looks like that and the spray looks like this. So I wanted to spray over top with the shimmer pink and do some ink splatters, and that's going to be the background. So pretty simple mixed media. There's not much to it. The video is picking it up a little, but in person the background you can see the definite two colours and the difference. And yeah, so just mopping it up with some paper towels so that I don't have to wait for it to dry. I can keep working, and so that the colour is not so bright and in your face. So just going to cut down my photo, because sitting it next to that 3x4 Project Life DIY embellishment at that 4x6 size is not going to work. So I cut it down. It's probably close to a 4x4. No, because I cut it down. Maybe close to a 4x3 3/4 or so. And I'm just going to lay it there. So I'm just going to have a play with some of the embellishments that I've got left and all the goodies. There's some paper to the right there, the kite paper, and some cutouts, the carousel horses and the spoon. I've got this lovely ribbon that I'm going to cut into a fishtail banner, and that's just going to lay underneath there for a pop of extra colour and to ground that DIY embellishment in photo cluster. Got those lovely white daisies, paper daisies that I'm going to put on, and I really want to put some of these fabric wood veneer teacups on there, so I'm going to work that out. But in the meantime, I'm happy with the way this is starting to look, so on I go with taping down the DIY embellishment and taping down my photo. Now that clock was stuck on, but it overhangs the 3x4 card a little, so I was able to tuck the photo in underneath that, and it makes it look like it's just meant to be, like I've made it directly that cluster as for this photo, for this layout as I was going. The good thing, I really love making DIY embellishments. It's fun in the moment. It's a really nice way to be creative without overthinking things. And then when it comes time to scrapbooking your layouts and doing your Project Life layouts, it makes it much more quicker, and it also means that you have like a starting point. So when I started this layout, I just pulled that one out and went, right, that's what I'm going to do. I'll find a photo that matches, and it all just starts to go from there. So now I was wondering about bordering the photo, and I thought I might add a bit of a rough edge to it. So I ripped it up, and then I wondered whether I'd double layer the rip and then put some white cardstock underneath. I quickly think about getting rid of that ripped layer, and the white cardstock is not standing out enough to be a border for me at this time. So I'm going to get some pinky red kind of pattern paper from my stash, but I have to get up to do that, so I'm going to have a bit of a play first before I go up and choose a pattern paper for the background. So there's some of this little paper that I've got left from the kit. I call it It reminds me of old-fashioned vintage wallpaper with the floral print and whatnot. So that's what I've put on just to tie it in on the Project Life embellishment. And I'm going to put on that wood veneer down there in a second cluster with 2 little daisies. Just going to use some wet glue to stick them on. Those cool little wood veneer. They're wood veneer on one side, as you can see where I'm putting the glue on. And on the other side, it's like a fabric print on it. It's like they've stuck fabric on it without it coming off or anything like that. But it's got these lovely little blue flowers on it. And that's just a nice little hint of colour and goodness. And I love cups of tea. That's what I drink. Coffee gives me migraines. So tea is my friend. And often when we go shopping, it's nice to either have a hot chocolate or have a cup of tea if we have the time. So I'm just going to have a little fight with these daisies. They need holding down on the glue because they're quite bulky at the bottom where all the stem has come to it. So I'm just going to put it on there. At the moment I just got one, that's what I decided on. But I do come back in and put a second one in. So now as I was doing that, I spied the washi that was sitting to the side. So it's got some black and white umbrellas on it. And I know the print is not so visible underneath, but the black and whiteness of it ties in with the embellishment cluster, the DIY embellishment, so that it is a nice little touch to the background of that photo. So here I go, putting in the second daisy. And this is where I start to decide that I'm most likely going to put some journaling and a title underneath here to, in between the DIY embellishment and this second cluster here that I'm making. And maybe I might put it up the top, as in the title up the top, because there's a lot of space up there, but I will have a play when I find out what my title's going to be. So here I go. I went and got some paper out of my pattern paper boxes and decided on this little, I'm pretty sure it's from Kmart. It's really thin piece of paper, and it's from a paper pad, but it's like not even, I don't even think it's as thick as copy paper. It's like pretty dodge, really. I've had it it's probably one of those first things that I brought when I was first scrapbooking, going, oh, that's lovely colours and, that's cheap. Not realising that what I actually use and what I actually want to use. So I'm just going to stick that on in a big, covering all of it. I measured it with my ruler so that it was 9 inches. That way I wouldn't have to measure as I was gluing it down. Just means I put the edge of this white cardstock layout on the edge of the reddy pink paper, and then it will be sorted. It will fit into my 9x12 page protector. So, there we go. Simple, simple, simple. Just making sure everything's stuck down. And there. So, what we're going to do next is, I can't remember. Oh, yes. So, I get out my pen and I do some journaling. And I was amazed at how straight I drew lines on that day. I just don't understand how and why. Maybe it was the pen. And, I was just really, really proud of my efforts. It's the small things that, make a difference. But I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes it's pretty awesome when you do those things out of character. So just going to double underline things, must just give it a bit of a messier kind of look. And I'm going to pull out these stickers that were sitting on the Rascog next to me. And I'm going to use the word lovely because it looks like it's going to fit into that bit between where the ribbon is and under where the journaling is. And sit in there, and it perfectly does, which was such a good advantage to me, so that I just stick it on. Just going to stick it straight on. They're foam stickers, foam thickers, so they stick pretty well. If when I go to put it in my layout that it's starting to look, I'll put some wet glue behind them and bother with that, but there's no point bothering with it now while I'm recording and giving you a sneak peek of all that boring stuff. And speaking of boring stuff, I peeled it off the wrong way and I could not get the backing off, so I got a bit off. I pushed in the middle with my pen and got a bit off, And then I went, what are you worried about? If I can't get it off, obviously just use your glue. It's not going to be a problem. So I pull out the wet glue and stick it down. Look at me go for it. Like, I was just like, you know how you just get stuck on things? It's meant to come off, therefore it should come off. It has to come off. And then it was like, okay, just calm your farm and move along. It does not have to come off at all. So yeah, so it feels a bit weird writing lovely on a selfie, but how's that for a, confidence booster, I guess? We probably should all do it much more often. So I'm just going to add a dotted line border around the top of this photo. That ties in with the DIY embellishment. I don't do it down the side because of the pattern paper and the lace underneath. The ribbon underneath doesn't need the dotted lines. Then I remember there were some beautiful hearts, nice smallish ones that are not going to be too garish and they fit well in. So on goes the DIY embellishment there, and one over in that teacup cluster. Now the thing is, when you make a DIY embellishment and then you put it on your page, it doesn't mean that area is finished. You don't need to add any more or anything like that. Sometimes you might not, sometimes you might need to add something to it. So don't feel like that you're boxed in, that you've already made it on another occasion and therefore it just goes onto the page without any more ado. That is not the case. It's your layout. When you make a DIY embellishment, doesn't mean that you're going to have it exactly the way for every single time. It might be most of the time, but sometimes you might need to do like this. Just add a little heart and call it a day. The heart means that it does fit in even more. Like, it means that those black thickers have two other points of the big black foam goodness to the layout to tie it all in. So just put in some of this lace, cream lace down the bottom there. Had to pull up my title as you've seen, or most of it, to put it underneath. And I'm just going to put that extra piece under that right side where the pattern paper cluster's going on with pattern paper and washi. And yeah, so I'm going to call it a day with this layout. So check out the close-ups and I'll catch you next time. Bye.